Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Cancer for March 2016. Check out my website, anniehelpsyou.com, and while you're there, sign up for my free email newsletter, which makes you part of my community and comes with lots of perks, and check out my blogs. I have blogs on astrology and health and other topics. So what is going on in March? It is madness for sure. We have eclipses, we have Mars retrograde influencing us, even though it doesn't go retrograde till April. But the eclipses are really stealing the show as far as the radical changes that will likely be coming from them. So let's talk about that. So an eclipse is, well, we have eclipse cycles twice a year. We call them the spring and fall eclipses, even though the actual dates that some of them take place are not exactly in the spring. They might be just before the official first day of spring, and the same for fall. We call them the spring and fall eclipses because they happen around that period of time. And this is a time when things get shaken up. Astrologers sometimes say that eclipses change trajectories. Like, for instance, if you're moving along a certain path, and maybe it's the path of your own will, and the path of the divine will is different. At the eclipse time, very often you will just get taken right off a track and moved to another track. And it can often happen in a very startlingly fast way, where it feels like it's a shock. Sometimes it's a wonderful thing, and sometimes it's a very challenging thing. And sometimes that happens all at once. So the nature of the solar eclipses are that they bring in new energy, and they bring in, it's like the energy of the new moon. The solar eclipse happens on the new moon. And so this March 8th, we have the solar eclipse at 18 degrees of Pisces. That's also the new moon in Pisces. And that brings new beginnings, and new portals are open for you at that time, new opportunities. That happens in triplicate. So the same as we have every month a new opportunity with each new moon, the new opportunities that come with the solar eclipse new moons are times 3. So you might have 3 separate opportunities, or the opportunity you have is 3 times as potent as other ones. So for early degree Cancer placements, and let's just review what the difference is between early, middle, and late degree. The reason why I take the time to do this differentiating is because the charts of an early, middle, and late degree placement of any sign can look radically different than each other. And without differentiating this, we're not speaking to each of you. So I really want to include everyone, and so I take the time to do this. So just bear with me as I explain it, and then you can figure out where you place. Early degree placements are from the beginning of the sign, so usually around the 22nd of June. It could be a little different each year. But the beginning of the sign through around July 2nd, you're an early degree placement. Or if you're watching for your rising sign, from 0 to 9 degrees, those are early degree placements. The middle degree placements are from around July 3rd through around July 12th, and from 10 degrees through 19 degrees. The late degree placements are from the 13th of July through the end of the sign, whenever it happens to have ended that year, around the 22nd, and 20 through 29 degrees. So if you are a person that has a very early degree placement, you might find some benefit from listening to the sign before, like Gemini late degree. And if you are a late degree Cancer placement, you might find value in also watching early Leo degree report, because when you're in those cuspy zones like that, you don't always fit right in to the rest of the story there. So there will be pieces of Cancer report that's suitable for you, and I break them down to show you where they are. But do consider watching the other reports that are on your cuspy side too. Okay, so back to the eclipses. The early degree placements are going to have new energy in the 10th house. The 10th house has to do with career and work and life purpose, figuring out why you're here, clarity about what you're doing at this time, what you're doing in general. And it could actually be something that is directly related to your job. So it could be job advancement, it could be job recognition, it could be a new job, or it could be an advancement within your current job. It could be that you make a lateral movement, but you like it more, and maybe it comes with more recognition as well. So something new having to do with work or career or life purpose. This is also the house that is very relevant to your place in the world. So having a new and deeper sense of your place in the world can come at this time. It also rules fathers and father figures and authority figures. So something new opening up there in the relationships with those people. The middle and late degree placements, and even some early degree placements, may have this new energy opening in the ninth house. The ninth house has to do with travel, especially long distance travel, different countries, different cultures, different languages, and the interactions with people from those places. So international business. It has to do with education of all kinds, formal education with like in colleges and universities and down to kindergarten education, period. Or it can be not accredited education for the sake of itself without any accreditation. It could be the topics of writing, teaching, speaking, publishing, broadcasting, anything where a message is brought out to a large audience. This also has to do with philosophy and spiritual topics, including religion. So religions and churches and non-denominational churches or denominational churches, places where people are asking the questions about religion and why we're here and what we're doing and who helped us to be here. So there's all of this new energy for cancers, all cancers, in that field of experience. Those early ones might have a little bit as well in what I talked about with the 10th house, but it could happen at the same time because it's really on the line there. It could happen the same time as these opportunities in the 9th house. And if you do 9th house things for work, or you would like to do 9th house things that I just listed for work, then you might have new work opportunities even if you're not an early degree placement because your 9th house is relating to your work. So that's shining really brightly. Some of you may travel abroad, have wonderful opportunities to connect with people from different countries and cultures. So the lunar eclipse closes out energy. There's some sort of ending, there's closure, there's completion, there's coming to fruition. For the early degree placements, that's likely to have an effect in your 4th house, and that could be some of you middle degree placements too. The 4th house has to do with home and family, actual houses, real estate, house related projects. So there could be the sale of a piece of real estate. There could be a move. It's very common that someone moves when they have a lunar eclipse in the house of home. Sometimes someone moves out of your house. So maybe you stay there, but there's a change to your home situation, so someone exits your home. So any of those things, real estate, construction, things like that, there could be some sort of ending there. And this could also be closing off of a relationship with a family member or something coming to fruition or something related to a family member or a place of birth or origin for you. For the rest of you middle degree placements and late degree placements, that lunar eclipse is going to happen in the 3rd house. The 3rd house has to do with your mobility in the many ways that comes. You're walking, biking, rollerblading, your cars, your transportation and the modes of doing that. So when I see this placement in a chart, I take the time to share something that I learned from watching this cycle happen through my own chart. A lot of the things I learned from astrology comes from, seeing what's going on in my own chart and saying, oh, wow, I can see how this is related here. So this 3rd house lunar eclipse, I had a very interesting experience during the time the eclipses were happening in my 3rd house. So in general, I haven't had problems with my car. I have a great car. The car works. I take the car places. I don't have problems with the car. So before and after the eclipse cycle, that's really the story of me and my car. During the eclipse cycle, I had 3 events happen. Now notice I've talked about triplicate. The new moon, this lunar eclipse is like a full moon in triplicate. A new moon solar eclipse is like a new moon in triplicate. There's something with these 3s. And people will say things happen in 3s. A lot of things that people say turn out to be astrologically based. So in any case, I had a snow-laden tree bough, fall on my, windshield and smash it. And then I also had, when I went to roll down my passenger side window, it shattered. I mean, it stayed in place because there was tinting on it, but it shattered within the tinting. And the 3rd thing was someone driving my car got into an accident and I didn't have the car for over a month. So all those things happen during this lunar eclipse cycle. So you have to guard your vehicles and put things into play where in in the event that something happened, you're more protected. So something I learned during this whole windshield and window fiasco was that there's something called glass insurance on most major car insurance, that you can have an inspector come out and make sure you don't have current glass damage, and they can add glass insurance on without any deductible. And this could turn out to be a big deal for some of you, because if you add this in this coverage and you have an incident, you won't have to pay anything to get it fixed. I did not have the glass insurance. That's how I learned about this. So I wish that I had. So things like that. Just be extra careful when you're driving. If you still are texting while you're driving, stop doing that, but especially during this time. And the energy starts to really brew starting at the end of January and going really up till 6 weeks after each of the events. So that brings us into May for the most active part of this cycle. So it's good to be really careful. Now, I don't ever tell you things to make you nervous or to say there's impending doom and you have to be worried and it's inevitable you're going to have a problem. It's not true. I tell you so that you can be aware and add awareness and light where there's darkness and unconsciousness, in the hopes that things can be softened or assisted. And so the more you know, the more you can try to prevent that or take precautions. Also, this lunar eclipse could just mean something like you get a new car, which means you don't have your old car, So it doesn't have to be something emotional and catastrophic, but often, since the lunar eclipse is like the full moon and it brings emotions to a head, emotions can be involved with it. If you've had a car for a long time and you're emotionally attached to it and then you get a new car, maybe that's just what it is. Maybe you're like, your car is like your buddy, So the emotions don't have to be negative emotions, but the lunar eclipse usually carries strong emotions, for better or worse. So at the same time as all this is happening, Mars is going retrograde on April 17th, from April 17th through June 29th. If you're watching this and it's the first week of February, then check out my Mars retrograde video, and also my Mars retrograde blog on my website, anniehelpsyou.com, in case you need to see these things in a written version. Sometimes it's easier. And I'm not going to go into great detail about Mars retrograde because I'm going to do that in the video, but some general understandings and how they relate to March. Mars rules your get up and go. It's your oomph, it's your drive, it's your ambitions. So when Mars is in retrograde, you might not have as many ambitions. You might be more relaxed. And for some people, maybe that's welcome. I know for me, especially for people who have strong Aries or Scorpio in their chart, because Mars rules Aries and Mars co-rules Scorpio. These people are driven by Mars more all the time. It's one of their ruling planets. So if you're one of those people, or if you're just in general a go-getter, you might find that you become comfortably productive and the edge gets taken off of your ambitions in a way that's relaxing and enjoyable for you. And that is more likely when you don't try to force things, because Mars comes closer to us during the retrograde, which can intensify our desire to push things forward. But at the same time, since it's going backwards, it's like making you feel like you have to do all this stuff and making it less possible to do any of it. So if you know that beforehand and you bust out the things you want to push forth into the world in like February and the first half of March, then as we get closer to the Mars retrograde cycle starting officially, then you'll be in a better position to relax because you already launched and did all of that extra work. I know for me, I'm going to be super busy February through, a good bit of March, and then I'll just expect I'm going to go on vacation and run my life with the transit, and this is something that would be good for you to consider as well, because it will make you much happier that way. And plus, things that you birth during Mars retrograde tend to fizzle because they don't have the oomph. So when Mars goes direct, it's just kind of like, it just fizzles away, So you don't want that for your projects. If you're launching something, you probably want it to have longevity. So my recommendation is to try to launch what you feel you need to launch in February, in the first half of March. There are some great dates there. But at the same time, take into consideration the complexity of the starry picture, which is including this eclipse picture, because eclipses in general, that time, it's not indicated to try to push things forward, because the universe is going to be giving you things to respond to, and you might need to have your faculties to respond to them. So it's a tricky thing, because there's only 3 periods of time in 2016 where there's any good energy of moving forward, which is February into March, and then July into August, part of July into part of August, and then the end of October through the beginning of December. October, like the end of October, November, December. So those are the only times where we're not completely entrenched in Mercury or Mars retrograde or both. So when you place it that way on the calendar, you see why I'd say if you're trying to push something through and you don't want to wait till the summer or the end of the year to do it, you've got to do it in this time frame. Doesn't mean it's not going to be without consequences or without things that come up. So my plan is, and I put that out there for you to do as well, is I'm going to try to push through the things that I think that I'm supposed to do. And then if the universe comes and says, oh, actually, we're not supporting that, or I'm not supporting that, and I'll be flexible, and maybe you will consider being flexible with just letting it go. It's not the time to force an issue. If you are putting all your gusto into something and then something happens that seems like it's totally contrary, roll with the punches. Now there is the chance that what you're doing is actually aligned with divine will, and the eclipses could fully support what you're doing, so that could also happen. Just pay attention what's going on. So those are the things I most wanted to talk about for March. I can't see what's going on in your individual chart. If you'd like some assistance with that, go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com. You can click on coaching to see more about that. Also, definitely check out my 28-day virtual coaching program called Shine. If you go to anniehelpsyou.com and you click on programs and you click on Shine, then you can see my sliding scale option, which makes it accessible to everyone. This program is intended to help you strengthen the weak links that you have that cause the transits to wreak more havoc in your life. I've come to see from looking at thousands of charts over a very long time that if you have things, the more you have things unresolved within you, the more the transits mess with you. Now, certain things are just destined to happen. They're going to happen anyway, but your relationship to the things that happen is what you can have say in. And you have say in that through doing inner work. And some such inner work is included in my 28-day virtual coaching program. So check it out. And while you're there, sign up for my free email newsletter, which makes you part of my VIP crew, and you get lots of perks and more coming in the future that go along with that. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.